What is up, bass fishing freaks? Luke Reeser here from Too Fat to Hunt Outdoors. Welcome back to another action-packed episode of Tackle Tip Tuesday, just the tip. And today on Tackle Tip Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the best baits to throw for bass in the winter months. So when the water is cold, what baits do you throw? Stay tuned and find out. Tackle Talk starts now. Okay, folks, so first things first, as you all know, I live in Wisconsin, and in the winter, it gets really freaking cold here. And not only does it get cold, it freezes. So most of the time in the winter months, if I'm fishing, I'm ice fishing. But once in a while, you have a weird year like we do now, where, well, let's see, it got really cold early fall, and we got a couple inches of ice, and everybody was ice fishing for like a week. And then it warmed up, and everything melted. And we've had like these 40-degree days all December. And it really gave us all access to fish whatever you want. And, you know, most people are walleye fishing or pan fishing, but there's some spots out there where you can find some bass. Wherever the bass winter, if you can find those spots, you can catch them. And it's pretty cool to catch bass in the winter around here. Now, I know all you guys down south and that, where it stays warm, and winter to you is, you know, 30-degree water. Awesome. I'm really jealous. I wish I had that. And you probably already know all about these baits, but up here in the Midwest and the northern part of the United States, when we have those times where you can get out and fish in the open water in the winter, it's a lot of fun, but it can be frustrating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you today about some of the baits that are better choices to use in those really cold months when you have the ability to fish open water. And some of these baits you'll actually see in a video later this week, where I got out on the Pimp and Crestliner and actually caught some bass in December, and it was a lot of freaking fun. So the first bait I'm going to suggest that you use when you're fishing for winter bass is my all-time favorite cold water bass bait, and that is going to be, no surprise, a jerkbait. So when I'm fishing a jerkbait, 99% of the time I'm fishing a suspending jerkbait. And there's usually two different styles I use. I use a regular jerkbait and a deep diving jerkbait. And in the regular version, I'm talking like a normal bass bait, you know, that dives like 2 to 4 feet, or sometimes 4 to 6 feet. And that's gonna be right here. This is a Lead Mine Lunkers KO version of the Vision 110 by Megabass. And this is my favorite color to use all the time, especially in the fall and spring. And this is going to be an IU color or golden shiner kind of color. Very good suspending jerkbait. And in the same depth, I'm going to go with the Rapala Ripstop. This is a new one on the market this year. Really unique. And this is in perch color. Really like that one. That's a good jerkbait there. The KVD, now we're dropping down to the deep versions. So the deep ones, they'll just dive a little deeper. I think this is like 4 to 8 or 8 to 10, I'm not sure. They just get down a little deeper. And this is the KVD one. This is chrome, sexy chrome back or whatever they call it. It's a chrome crankbait. Works great on the Mississippi River, great for muddy water. It really is a good representation of a shiner in the water. And if you notice, almost all of the jerkbaits, or all the baits that I'm going to show you today, are minnows or shiner representations, because that's what the bass are eating in the fall and into winter. Here's another one. This is a really good one. I actually use this one a lot in the video you're going to watch in a couple days. This is a Rapala deep diving jerkbait. This is a slow sinking one, and I don't remember what they call this color, but it's like a mossy green on the top, shiner, and then you got a blue stripe down the middle. Really good jerkbait. And then one more. This is the Rapala Shadow Wrap Deep. So it's just a little different profile. It's more of an actual shad than a shiner. And this is a little purple color. if you're throwing this, you're probably catching walleye too. And that's what I like about it, because it'll catch bass, it'll catch walleye, and I probably caught more walleye than bass on it. But it's a slow rising one. So it sits really good when you snap it, and then it slowly rises whatever position it's in. And I like that because it doesn't go back to you know, horizontal in the water and then rise. Wherever you stop it, then it starts to rise. It's pretty cool. It's a really good tool to have in your tackle box when it comes to jerk baits. Next up on the list, you're going to want to be throwing a rattle trap or a lipless crankbait, whatever you want to call them. And here I got a couple of my favorite lipless crankbaits. The Strike King Red Eye Shad, whether it be the regular Red Eye Shad or the Tungsten 2-tap, it's good to have both of them because they're both a little different and they'll both do good in different situations. This is, I think it's called like Blue Craw, but I actually use this, I think it represents a shiner pretty good when you're burning it around. So it's a pretty good one, and 99% of the time when I'm fishing a rattle trap in the fall and in the winter, I'm doing a slow yo-yo. So I'm letting it sink and then just popping it up really slow and letting it sink. Not really big rips, sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, just a slow up, let it fall. Up, let it fall. The Rapala Rip Stop, that's, or Rip and Wrap, that's a good one too. This is in Fire Tiger. This is a little heavier one. This is 3/4 ounce, but if you're fishing deeper, that's really gonna help you. It's gonna get down deeper faster. That's a good rattle trap there. Then you got the original rattle trap itself. This is in sexy shad color. That's a killer. A lot of rattles, probably the loudest rattle trap on the market. Then sometimes if I'm fishing shallower water, I'm gonna downsize to a 1/4 ounce. And this super spot here, Cotton Cordell spot, is a really good rattle trap, especially the 1/4 ounce size. I don't really use the big ones, but if I'm fishing a 1/4 ounce size rattle trap, this is probably the one I'm gonna use because it freaking vibrates and kicks so much with a little bit of action. And this is in like Golden Shiner, so that's a really good color for the river, really good color for fall. And then here is a lead mine lunker KO of the Excalibur, you know, the XR50 or whatever it is. One knocker. Don't have hooks on it yet. I haven't used it yet, but really good one right there to use. Next up on the list is going to be a jig. So you're always going to want it. If you're a bass fisherman, you always have a jig tied on or something to flip. It's just common knowledge, folks. But you always want to have a jig tied on because you never know what you can pick up with. So if you're throwing the rattle trap in your pot, you know, and you catch a couple, throw this jig out, let it hit the bottom, creep it along just really, really slow. You can pick up a fish that, you know, is a little less active, or just it's going to surprise them. You know, they're like looking around for all these baits that are up in the water column, and all of a sudden here comes this crawdad sneaking across the bottom, or almost dead bluegill, whatever they think it is. He's going to go down and smack it, and you're going to catch a fish that you probably wouldn't have. So always have a jig on, folks. Work it really, really slow in the wintertime. This is a football jig here, actually, because I like a football jig in the winter. It stays down on the bottom good, and it doesn't do nothing. It just drags. And this is a good craw to use trailer in the wintertime because the flaps really do nothing. This is a Berkeley Havoc. I think it's like the Bobby Lane fat craw or something. But these paddles don't really kick like the Rage Craw in that. They just kind of flop around. And I really like that because if you're just dragging, they don't do much. And you hit over a rock, they'll go up, but that looks natural. So always have a football jig or some kind of jig tied on. Next up on the list, we're going to have the blade bait. And the blade bait is probably one of the #1 baits used in the winter. I only use this bait pretty much in the winter or when the water's really cold. And I don't use it a whole lot just because I love fishing a rattle trap. But once in a while I will use it, and I know a lot of people have a lot of success on it. I myself just don't have as much success on it. I would rather use a rattle trap. But I do have a bunch, and I'm going to show them to you here. This is Sexy Chromeback, or whatever you want to call it. I think almost all these are Hutch Tackle brand. A local guy here in Wisconsin that makes baits. There's another one there in the Halloween special. More of a natural gizzard shad color right there. Got one there in red and chrome. That's a little heavier one. I think that's a 1/2 or 3/4 ounce. And then kind of another sexy chrome back color there, more of a holographic one. Right there, that's probably the one I use the most. I really like that one for bass anyways. But same thing with a blade bait, I'm going to fish it pretty much like I do a rattle trap. I'm just going to, and another thing that's great about blade baits, you can vertical jig them. So, you know, just drop it down right over the boat, let it hit the bottom, and then just see what the fish want. Hop it up really hard, let it flutter back down, or, you know, just bring it up real slow. Just let the fish tell you what they want. But you can also throw it out and cast it in and you'll catch fish too. But blade bait is another great bait for wintertime. Last up on the list, we're gonna have the Swimbait. And a Swimbait is a bait that'll stay on one of my rods from the end of fall all the way until probably the next summer, because I'll throw them in the spring as well. But a Swimbait is a great bait for the winter because it really does a great job of representing shad or any type of bait fish, and you can do so much with them. That's the awesome thing. You can let it fall nose down, hop it up, and fish it like a rattle trap. You can swim it, throw it out and cast it in. You're just swimming it like a crankbait. You can throw it out and slow roll it like a spinnerbait, just slow rolling over the bottom, giving it a couple bounces every now and then. You can do anything you want with a swim bait, and that is why they're such a great bait. They are so versatile. This one right here is a great little swim bait. This is a VMC head, I think, 1/4 ounce with a little Rage swimmer on the back. I also like to use the Matt Allen heads. They're really good. Here's some VMC jigs that I got in 3/8, so a little heavier. You can throw a lot bigger of a swim bait on there. Probably like this big Kitech, these big 4.8s. You know, match them right there. That's probably going to be a good match right there. Rage swimmers, great swim baits. So are the Strike King Caffeine Shad. Probably my 3 favorite swim baits right there to use on anything, whether I'm fishing a swim jig or a swim bait. Those are my 3 favorites. Definitely try using a swim bait in the wintertime. You can do so much with it. Barely move it across the bottom and it looks like a dying bait fish, and they will destroy it. So these are the 3 baits that I actually have tied on coming home from my trip winter bass fishing. As you can see here, I got a big heavy rod here with a big swim bait on it. I mean, it's not, to me this is a big swim bait. To some of you guys it's not. It's actually probably only a 5-inch swim bait, but it's a big profile. It's an inline swim bait. It's the Fred Robanus Boom Boom swim bait. I've not caught a fish on it yet. It's actually Brandon's and I stole it from him, and I'm just glad that I never lost it to a pike the other day. But then we have here the Rapala deep jerkbait. That is in perch color. That's brand new. I actually did not fish that. I just got it last night and tied it on because I thought I was going to go fishing today. Then I wasn't able to. So that's a brand new one there. I actually love that one. I caught a lot of fish on this color this year, and then I lost it in a snag when I was with Oli one day. So I just replaced it, and this is a Strike King Red Eye Shad. One of my favorite colors right there. I will link a video down below where I caught bass about a month ago with that bait. That was the only bait I caught him on that day, and it was a killer bait. So yeah, these are the baits that I had tied on. Now, if you like these 3 baits, I will link them through Fish USA down below where you can get them. Not the Fred Robanus, but the Big Bite Baits version, which is almost identical, only it's got a little more square tail, which actually kicks a little different. Check that one out, and they're really cheap compared to these ones. They're about half the price. So that's it, folks. Those are my favorite baits to throw in the wintertime. If you have a favorite bait to throw in the wintertime that you did not see here, let me know in the comments below. I like learning new things, and I like learning what other people do, sharing what I do. So if there's a tip that you have that you didn't see here, let me know. I know one bait I didn't share today was a spoon, a flutter spoon, and I myself have like little to zero experience with a flutter spoon. I want to get better at it, and I actually thought about ordering some, but this happens to me all the time. I'll order a couple, and then the lakes will freeze up, and I won't be able to use them. That's what happens. So I guess I should have ordered them a couple months ago and had them, but I do want to get better with a spoon, and I know that's another great way to catch them in the wintertime. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that now. Hit the bell so you get notified every time I put out a new video. Destroy that thumbs up button. Luke Reeser signing off. Always remember, you're never too fat to fish.